Okay, to be clear, I really did engage in several of those learning experiences for the purpose of tonight's presentation, including a digital video design class and even, yes, a rap lesson. But another significant component of my training involved watching all of you. As such, I'd like to turn to an examination of what I've learned by watching distinguished ACL speakers in action, specifically the techniques used to capture the attention of, to network with, and even bond with colleagues.
Over the past several decades, distinguished presenters at the annual meeting of the Association for Computational Linguistics have provided the necessary training and material for future presidential addresses. Many ACL speakers are adept at capturing the attention of audience members using a variety of techniques.
So my job is to make some controversial remarks.
To see how many you are there, it's impressive.
Well, I'm not going to make a speech at all.
Because I am a baby in the translation field.
When I'm done with this, you're all like, well, what? Then my work here will be done.
Notice I'm careful not to say the S word, and I avoided the G word. You know what I'm talking about.
This is the act at the beginning of the act.
While the old linguists' bodies may be mouldering in the graves, the best of their ideas will be marching on.
From these great speakers, ACL audiences around the world have learned about new languages and dialects.
You've got to move the vowels around, you know. They move around and it comes out something like, well, it's really not all that difficult, you know.
And of course, gesture, which is now tightly integrated with theories of discourse and natural language, is one of the primary tools used in many presentations. ACL presenters also entertain their audiences with other talents, such as juggling or poetry.
And not Australia, where some boomerang might turn you into kangaroo-merang.
Even unicycling. Of course, dancing is an important foundational activity for distinguished ACL presenters.
Now walk forward, 1, 2, 3, turn. Raise your right arm, turn the lady under, walk forward, gents, and turn as a couple. Around you go. Starting again. Forward, 1, 2, 3, turn. Back. Walk forward, 1, 2, 3, turn.
Finally, it is important for distinguished ACL speakers to relax and bond with their colleagues. Oh, and if you can't find a bar, there's always the mini bar.
Next, I'd like to turn to the question of how someone unfamiliar with our field might get a handle on the nature of field of computational linguistics based on insights from distinguished ACL members and speakers. That is, what information would a newcomer need to answer questions like, what is computational linguistics? Or, what's the scoop with CL, the title of this talk? This is something that has become a matter of great interest to me more now than ever before as my first child enters college. Carissa's out there. Carissa, raise your hand. And my second is not too far behind. Ryan, raise your hand. I've realized that I'm not even sure they know what I do for a living. And I even thought thought for one fleeting moment that maybe if they learned something about the field, they might take interest in it as well. Well, maybe not. My daughter already chose her major. It's film, which could have something to do with the techniques I'm using in this talk. But still, the question nagged at me, what the heck is it we all do for a living? As a way of explaining what CL is for this presentation, and with the intent of being at least somewhat scientific in the endeavor, I decided it would be useful to conduct interviews with experts in the field and then to test the informativeness of these interviews by asking newcomers what they learned by watching them. This is the experimental design for performing such a test. Of course, we would interview prominent computational linguists and then show the test subjects those expert interviews, and then ask probing questions, the likes of which you see here, and then analyze the subject's responses and declare success or failure. Now, there are two questions you could ask: who would serve as my interviewees and who would serve as my test subjects? Happily, and I want to thank you all so very much, several out there in the audience were willing to participate in a series of interviews that took place gradually over a number of years. If you don't remember my having interviewed you, please stay tuned and you'll see that indeed it really did happen. As for the question of who would be my test subjects, the newcomers to the field, I thought about that for a long time and ultimately decided what better uninformed audience than my very own family members. So I settled on a handful of family members to whom I showed the interviews you are about to see. So let's take a look.